Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Friday?
I'm very good. I'm glad to be having a show tonight. A lot to talk about now. We're getting the league new year starting.
Yeah.
And the free agency and a lot of moves being made, and we're going to talk about some of them.
It's going to be fun to watch. Draft's obviously coming up. Combine's over. A lot of news out there, supposedly. I can't believe it. Caleb Downs, the best safety and maybe forever prospect-wise, supposedly has a report a degenerative ACL and a partially torn meniscus. Give me a break. Degenerative ACL. Last time I checked, he never had an ACL injury. I don't know. It's going to be crazy, but obviously draft's coming up in about a month or so. We're going to get into that. Again, start of April, every Tuesday, we'll give the top 10, then 11, then final 11 picks. So stay tuned for that. But for this show, today's show, we got a lot to talk about. So let's jump right into it with the first topic of tonight's show, which is Daniel Jones gets the rare transition tag. Something that the Giants could have done a few years ago. Instead, gave him $160 million for 4 years, and that only lasted 2 years. This time, the Colts had taken an easier option, a less risky option, by placing the transition tag on Daniel Jones, which nets about a little over $37 million for Daniel Jones, while they try to figure out a longer-term deal. If not, he gets that $37 million for that one-year contract. So my question to you is, we heard this immediately. It just seems like with all the moves they made, trading for Sauce Gardner, giving up basically the future to go out and get Sauce Gardner and make themselves a very viable team. And now with transition tagging Daniel Jones and maybe getting a longer-term deal done before the deadline, do you think that ultimately Daniel Jones is the Colts franchise quarterback?
I think it's uncertain. If he was their chosen franchise quarterback, they wouldn't put a transition tag on him, right? That's rarely used, a transition tag. It guarantees the right of first refusal for him if he goes out and strikes another deal with another team. Apparently, they don't think that's going to happen. It allows them to match any competing offer that he might sign with an interested team. If Jones doesn't sign the competing offer sheet, then he's guaranteed the $37,833,000, which I'm sure he'll be happy to get, but I think he was probably looking for more. And he's probably a little disappointed. I would be if I were him, going out there and playing with a hairline fracture in my left leg to compete. When the Colts were definitely in it, they were leading their division, and then maybe that had a lot to do with him tearing his Achilles tendon and putting him out for the rest of the year at week 14. And now the Colts are a little shaky about whether they really want to commit a lot to him. Their GM says the transition tag is a tool and not what we ultimately want to do. And that contract talks with both Jones and Alec Pierce as somebody they want to re-sign as well are going well. Well, they were going well. I'm not sure. Why wouldn't they get a deal done? He said when both sides are driven to get it done, it usually works out in the right way. No quarterback's ever been given the transition tag before. Only 20 players have been tagged since 2000. Kyle Duggar was the most recent in 2024. Most players reach a deal after being tagged, with only 4 players playing the entire season under the transition tag since 2000, and never a quarterback. Through 10 games last season, the Colts were 8-2. And Jones led the NFL in passing yards. He was top 6 in completion percentage and yards per attempt. Then he suffered that hairline fracture in his left leg, negatively affecting his performance. And then he sustained the Achilles injury in his right leg in week 14, and that was it. He was done. And I think one had a lot to do with the other, and I give him a lot of credit for going out there and playing with that hairline fracture in his leg. And I'm not sure it's as appreciated as it should be by the Colts. The injury may be complicating the contract negotiations. I think it is, as it will be several months before he's cleared to return to the field, and then we're not sure, how he'll be when he gets out there. That's a tough injury to come back from. The tag on Jones has a direct impact on Pierce, who's is maybe the top wide receiver in free agency if he is not signed by 3/11/26. He can start negotiating with other teams on Monday. He's the leader in yards per catch for each of the past 2 years. He got 1,000 yards for the first time in 2025, despite being the number 4 in targets by the Colts. I don't know how that happens. Despite his significant improvement in 2025, I think there may still be questions about Jones, particularly his inability to hang on to the ball when he's under pressure, and he has an injury history as well. But this past season, he improved on that a lot. He had 110.3 passer rating when pressured in 2025, which was among the best, and a low 5.9% pressure to sack ratio. And he effectively navigated the blitzes. But then there was one game there where against the Steelers where he turned the ball over 5 times, 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles, in a loss. A game that should have been won. They lost it 27-20, and he lost the Chiefs game, and they should have won. They put the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't do anything. So from week to 10-14, he had no turnovers and a passer rating of 80.6, 113.4, 107, and 115.9. So that would make you think he's the real deal. The Colts I don't think anybody's going to put a tag or give him an offer sheet, and I think the Colts will wind up back with him. Will he play with a transition tag for the full year? I think there's a possibility of that.
That could just be based on the money, and I think that, if we're being honest, Minnesota Vikings, they're familiar with him. They didn't give him a fair shot up against J.J. McCarthy because they believed so much in him, and maybe they thought they could maybe retain Sam Darnold. Although their GM thought otherwise and wanted full faith in J.J. McCarthy, he ended up getting canned this season. So
rightfully so.
I would agree with that. When it comes to Daniel Jones, I have been very honest, very realistic, but I've also come around on Daniel Jones because when he was with the Giants, it was a disgrace, and I called that out every time. And I found it a little bit funny how people were saying that Daniel Jones' best season, 2022, they were considering him a top 10 quarterback. And when I did my top 10 list, there was a lot of hate on why I didn't have Daniel Jones in my top 10. Well, then lo and behold, 2023 came around, and I was proven right. But if we think about it, I think Daniel Jones, we're talking about franchise quarterback. I don't think in the Colts context that should be give him a 5-year deal worth like $200 million or something like that, or $250 million or anything crazy like that. I think it could be a similar deal to what the Giants gave him. Maybe on lesser years, though. Maybe $120 for 3. Same amount of money. You get a $3 million increase from the transition tag, and then Daniel Jones is happy. It doesn't necessarily solidify you as the long-term answer. It kind of solidifies you as you're our quarterback now, just like how Baker Mayfield's on a 3-year deal, just like how Sam Darnold is on a 3-year deal. It's we'll see what we got right now. The Raiders did that with Geno Smith. And 1 year after the contract was signed, he's already out of there. So I think when it comes to Daniel Jones, I think they should sign him to a longer-term deal. And if we're talking about just strictly performance, Daniel Jones had a career high in completion percentage, number 2 in passing yards, number 2 in passing touchdowns, number 1 in passing success rate, number 1 in yards per completion, number 1 in passer rating, number 1 in yards per game, number 1 in QBR. He set career highs in basically every single category. But I do want to come back to that 2022 season because I think this is a part of Daniel Jones that needs to be a part of his game long term. It's difficult now, and you pointed it out, and that's something that I think will be difficult to implement in his game now, but it is Daniel Jones at his best, and that is when he uses his legs. When people say that 2022 was Daniel Jones' best season, I think it's in part because if we look at what was so great about Jones, it was the fact that he ran it 120 times and had 700 rushing yards with 7 rushing touchdowns. So he had that aspect to his game, which we really haven't seen since. He tied for the second lowest of his career in rushing attempts, had his career low in rushing yards. He did have 5 rushing touchdowns, which is second career highest, but I want to see more mobility. That's why he was coined the White Michael Vick. I want to see a full season of Daniel Jones being implemented on every facet that he does well. Taking care of the ball is what we saw, and playing within the structure, that's what we saw through the first 8 games. And then when he had a hairline failure, the Steelers game was a big turning point. Now, some of it was completely his fault. Also, offensive line broke down, especially on the outside. There were 2 or 3 fumbles there, blind side hits, and I mean, you don't see him coming. You wish he could hold on to the ball a little bit better, but you didn't see him coming. Now, here's what's interesting. Ryan Kelly, their center, retired today. That's a big piece there that they have to fill. I think Sauce Gardner, we'll see what he does next year coming off the injury. Daniel Jones, how will he look off of the, the Achilles? What was the injury he was on before? Was it a fractured?
A hairline fracture in his fibia, or his left leg.
So I want to see what he looks like after that. Because he moved all right, and then he tore his Achilles in that game.
Nate, I don't think that this year coming up is going to be the year where they're going to let him go out and run all over the place, right?
Well, if he's asking for $45 million, I'll say agree with that.
One leg had a hairline fracture in it.
Yeah.
The other leg, he tore his Achilles tendon.
But what do we see through the first 8 games? We saw a 7-1 Colts team that looked like they were the best in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't running the ball much then.
He wasn't running the ball much all season, and that's my concern. Think about it. If we have a good Jonathan Taylor season, he had a great first 10 games, and then he fell off at the end. What if we have a really good Jonathan Taylor season, which is consistent? Maybe he doesn't score 3 touchdowns in 3 games, but he scores a touchdown in the first 11, 10 games. 10 rushing touchdowns. He has 1,300 yards.
Then you don't need Daniel Jones to be running around back there.
But what if we have that to him? What if we have Daniel Jones? What if they sign Alec Pierce to a 3-year, $80 million deal?
I think they will do that.
The Colts could be, again, a legitimate contender.
Oh, yeah, I think they will be a contender. But I think what they need to do is beef up their offensive line, and now it's hurt by their center retiring. So they need to work on that. That is the weakness. I think that showed up during the year, and I think what they gave up for Sauce Gardner, they may come back to haunt them a little bit. 2 first-round picks. Yeah. Come on. I think they're probably regretting that right now. I mean, they were thinking, we're going to the Super Bowl. That's why they did that. We're going deep into the playoffs. That's why they did the trade there and gave up so much. They were saying, this is our year. We're going to do it right now. Then the injuries to Jones, that cooked them.
I agree with that. But I would also say that you've got Sauce Gardner because one of the major weaknesses of your team was your passing defense. They were 31st
Then he got
in the league.
hurt.
Right, then he got hurt. So what I want to see is what this team looks like through the first month of the season. I want to see what the defense with Sauce Gardner healthy, Daniel Jones back at quarterback. I want you to re-sign Alec Pierce, and I want to see a reinvigorated Jonathan Taylor with Tyler Warren, with Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, this could be a legitimate
They need to beef up the offensive line.
Well, yeah, you need to replace your Pro Bowl center. I think that's going to be a major factor in this. But I think first of all, just think about what's out there. Who are you going to replace Daniel Jones with? Riley Leonard, who's on the team right now? No. He played no. Kirk Cousins, you want to get him? He's too expensive probably. Kyler Murray, he's a reclamation project. Tua has to play within structure. What happens when the structure breaks down? At least Daniel Jones can move. Everyone seizes up when Tua has to leave the pocket. So I think if we're looking at the landscape of what quarterbacks are out there, Daniel Jones is the number 1 quarterback, I think, on the quarterback market. He's younger than Kirk Cousins, younger than Aaron Rodgers, more mobile than both of those quarterbacks.
Do you think he'll get a sheet then?
Again, it depends.
I don't think he'll get a sheet.
It depends on what the offer is. I think that if a team's giving him $45 million, I think the Colts are going to be like, take him. The interesting thing.
But nobody's going to do that.
If they.
Who's going to give him $45 million?
We're about to see Malik Willis get $30 million a year. What is Kirk Cousins going to get? What is Kyler Murray? What's Tua going to get? A GM says
Tua and Kyler Murray don't need to get much at all. Kyler Murray's just going to get the veteran minimum.
Well, yeah. What about Tua?
All. He's the one that's out there that
no,
you can pick up for a song and with the Vikings and their head coach.
We're going to talk about that.
I think they're going to look at them very carefully.
Oh God,
they're going to look at that
you
very carefully.
You don't want a reclamation,
but I don't. I think that. Well, we're going to talk about that. Won't give away all my thoughts on that just yet.
Look, I think the best quarterback, he knows the system. He worked well in the system. You have a good structure there. I just want to see what a healthy Daniel Jones could do. And I think that you have to implement more running the football with Daniel Jones. Now, the injury thing is absolutely true. He's had injuries throughout his entire career.
That's why you need a better offensive line to protect him a little bit better.
Or just, play within or design safe QB runs. I know that's not really a thing. Just don't have Daniel Jones run to the front of the defensive line. Generate something.
I think they They rely on Jonathan Taylor for the running, and they rely on Daniel Jones for the passing.
And that's why you're going to hit a wall. That's why they hit a wall.
I think that, and if it doesn't work, then maybe they let Jones loose a little bit, but they're not going to start out with that. Sure. They're going to see if they can get it done with Taylor.
I mean, you have a lot of talent. You just have to have them healthy and use them.
And I think they have good coaching, too.
I like Shane Steichen a lot.
I like Steichen is very good, but I think he's starting to get on a little bit of a hot seat here.
I would agree with that.
To get to the playoffs. They haven't gotten to the playoffs with him.
I would absolutely love to see that. All right, let's get into our next topic here because this is interesting. The Patriots decide to say goodbye to Stephon Diggs after one season as Diggs being the wide receiver one there. It was interesting to see. It was the big cap hit. That was the big thing. And we talked about that a couple weeks ago, actually. What are the Patriots going to do at wide receiver with Stephon Diggs only having that 1 year and having the out in this offseason? The Patriots took that as an opportunity and released Stephon Diggs as well. So my question to you is, with the Patriots releasing Diggs, is this a smart move or a dumb move for New England, who just made the Super Bowl?
I think it's potentially a very smart move, okay? But it depends on what they replace Diggs with. So, the Patriots are moving off Diggs. He was a big contributor to their 14-3 season. He had 1,000 yards receiving, had 85 catches and 4 touchdowns. He played very well. He signed that 3-year, $69 million deal last March, but for 2026, his base salary was going to rise from $2.9 million to $20.6 million. His salary cap charge was increasing from $10.5 to $26.5. He also would have been guaranteed an additional $6 million on top of the $1.7 million bonus that he was, which he's going to receive no matter what. Patriots decided the extra expense and his age, 33 years old, were big enough for negatives to release him. And Diggs also has off-field issues with a felony, strangulation, and other criminal charges stemming from an alleged dispute with his personal chef. He pleaded not guilty and has a pretrial hearing on April 1st. So, he has other issues too. This Cardi B thing, he broke up with her. He has a kid with her. He's kind of off field, and he's always been a little bit of a controversial player, making a lot of noise at times. Although he was very good on the field with the team and the Patriots, being a leader. He was good for them in that regard. It was the right move to bring him in, but it's probably the right move to say goodbye to him too. He says he's innocent of those charges, of course, right? It was all financially motivated. The Pats will have $57 million in cap space and will likely prioritize an extension for Christian Gonzalez. They can't lose him. Top priorities still include an edge rusher and the offensive line, linebacker, a tight end, and a wide receiver, of course, with Diggs going. Patriots say they want to focus on their internal development at wide receiver, specifically third-round pick Kyle Williams, who had 10 catches, 209 yards, and 3 touchdowns, playing only 30% of the snaps, and the undrafted slot receiver Efton Chisholm, who was he got in there at the very end of the year. I'm not so sure anybody really knows how good he is. Vrabel says the transition from year 1 to 2 at that position can be very special. They also have Hollings, Douglas, and Booty under contract. They're expected to explore trade possibilities, and this is where I think that it could be a mistake to let Diggs go if they bring in somebody like A.J. Brown. I don't like that guy. He played for Vrabel at the Titans. He says he'd like to play for Vrabel again. He's a distraction, the guy. He's reading a book on the sidelines. He gets all upset when he doesn't get the ball thrown to him a lot. Sometimes when he has the ball thrown to him, he doesn't catch it. When he has a good game and the team loses, he's happy. I just don't think he's the right chemistry for the Patriots. And the Patriots have 11 picks in the draft. Draft some wide receivers. Diggs' future, I say at 33, won't be a top of the market receiving option. He's played well with the young quarterbacks, May and Stroud. He was good for both of them. When he was with the Texans and this past year with the Patriots. Maybe the Giants or the Titans could be a landing spot for him. Will the Pats draft a receiver with the 31st pick? Lots of teams have interest in wide receivers in this draft, but probably KC Concepcion of Texas A&M, Denzel Boston from Washington, and Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana could possibly be there at number 31. I guess I'd go with Boston since he's the biggest of the bunch. He's 6'4", 209 pounds. I think that would be the way to go. Draft somebody. Let the players they have step up and don't go out and draft and trade for somebody like A.J. Brown. I don't like that.
I'm actually on the opposite side of this because it only makes sense to release him if you're going to replace him with a player of similar or better value. If you look at the market, there's no one really out there unless you think Alec Pierce is going to be the next Stephon Diggs, or you have a lot of confidence that Mac Hollins is going to be your wide receiver one, or Kayshon Boutte, or Pop Douglas. I don't think that getting rid of Stephon Diggs and then leaving with the receiver core that you have is necessarily a good idea. We have to remember, a lot of people are looking at, in retrospect, hindsight's always 20/20, the schedule, the wide receiver core is really good. The Patriots entered the 2025 season with the 31st ranked supporting cast in the NFL. That was with Stephon Diggs. That was with this whole plethora of options. Austin Hooper and Mac Hollins and Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas and Kyle Williams and everybody. 31st in the league. Now, they ended up being much higher than that. But I think that the only way this makes sense, and if you want to get back to the Super Bowl level that you were, and with an increasingly difficult schedule, one of the highest in the NFL, then I think you have to replace him with a similar or better value wide receiver. Now, I kind of agree. Having the cap hit jump from $10 million to nearly $30 million, that's a bit of a big jump. But with the impact that Diggs had on the Patriots, it would be worth it. Because Diggs, by far, had the most receiving yards, 400 more receiving yards than the next highest wide receiver. He had the most receiving first downs. He had the most missed tackles forced. He had the most contested catches. He was the biggest part of your offense. Was he the most explosive? You could probably say that's Kyle Williams, Kayshon Boutte, with some of the miraculous deep shot catches. Mac Hollins had a couple beautiful contested catches. But if we're talking about the most reliable wide receiver that you had, that would be Stephon Diggs. The running game, you don't trust. Is it Ramondre Stevenson? Is it Travion Henderson? Who's the running back? We don't know. It's Ramondre, but he has a fumble issue. Now it's Travion Henderson. Okay, well, now it's not Travion Henderson. It's Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson's playing well. But we want Travion Henderson in the red zone. It's a lot of hodgepodge, mix, match. What are we going to do? I think you got to have some consistency, and that's the biggest thing with young teams and young quarterbacks. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Because we see Jalen Hurts, he did win a Super Bowl, largely part of Saquon Barkley in that defense, but he's had like 8 coordinators since college. Can we please have a level of consistency? And people are questioning Jalen Hurts' passing development. I wonder why. He's had one system beyond 1 year once in his NFL career so far. That's it. So I think when it comes to the Patriots, is this smart contractually? Sure. Is this smart for your NFL team for success-wise? I don't think so. I think this is going to bite them in.
Well, he's done now. He's going to release. So what are you going to do? What's your plan?
Thing. I would go get A.J. Brown. I would go get, because think about it. Stephon Diggs had trouble in Buffalo. Remember? We saw shots at Josh Allen arguing on the sideline.
Yeah.
In New England, on the field, asterisk, on the field, model citizen. Off the field, very, very debatable.
Yeah.
On the field, buttoned up, fine player. No issue. A.J. Brown says he wants to play with Mike Vrabel again. He wanted to play in New England a while ago. I think this is a perfect opportunity to give the Eagles a second-round pick or whatever they're asking for and go out and get a wide receiver. If this is really a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, well, A.J. Brown came up pretty small in the playoffs this year.
Well, again, he wanted out
of the ball. It went right through his hands 2 or 3 times.
He didn't have a quarterback that he trusts.
Well,
I think he would trust Drake May.
Plus, what do you think about his distraction aspect of him?
I think that would go away with Mike Vrabel in New England. Because again, Stephon Diggs, we saw him ripping Josh Allen on the sidelines in the blowout loss to Cincinnati. We see him giving the side eye and stuff. He was fine in Houston. He got hurt, but he was okay. He played well in Houston. Then New England, on the field, model citizen.
Oh, he definitely had a good season, and he was their number 1 target.
And everyone's thinking, 32-year-old Stephon Diggs, what does he have left in him? Wide receiver 2, maybe at best on an okay team. He was wide receiver 1 on a Super Bowl roster. I think that, again, if Diggs was brought back and another year in the system with Mike Vrabel and that system, and that's the big thing, in the system, a no-nonsense but very player-friendly system, I think A.J. Brown would be just fine. Because he would get the targets. Again, if we're talking about just target share, wide receivers on the Patriots, Stephon Diggs had 120. The next highest wide receiver was Mac Hollins at 74. So that's nearly a 50 target difference.
Yeah.
I think A.J. Brown will get his targets. And then you also still have the explosiveness of a Pop Douglas or a Kyle Williams or a Keyshawn Boutte. But you have that ability, A.J. Brown, who I think is better than Stephon Diggs.
You think A.J. Brown's better than
I think A.J. Brown
Diggs.
is better than Stephon Diggs. I think A.J. Brown could have 1,600 yards as a Patriots wide receiver. 1,000% I do.
Okay, you don't think he'll be a problem?
I think Mike Vrabel will tone that down immediately.
Okay, well, maybe that's what's going to happen. We'll wait and see.
But you have to give up so much.
You don't
and
see
that's
the
why
Patriots
just
sticking with what they have and drafting somebody.
Here's the thing. They might. I think that'll be the wrong decision. Unless you find a diamond in the rough like maybe Keyshawn Boutte was, who you had as a first-round pick. Rightfully so. He's played very well. But I think unless you find a diamond in the rough and you get him at a cheap level rookie contract and he hits, there's your only opportunity. The last time the Patriots drafted a high-pick wide receiver was Jalen Polk, who's currently not on the roster anymore, and he had trouble catching passes and getting open. If I'm the Patriots, when I have the 31st pick, I'm probably going to go with either an offensive lineman, because you just traded away your center, so I'd probably go offensive lineman, or I would go with an edge rusher. Because there's no way, I mean, for me, I love Mekhi Lemon. I think the Jets are going to get him at 16. I think he'd be a beautiful pick for the Patriots. I just think that if we want to maintain the level of performance that the Patriots had last season, you have to find a wide receiver that equals Stephon Diggs' value or is better. And the only one really available is A.J. Brown.
What about Mike Evans?
Mike Evans is too old, and we talk about injuries. Is he going to play?
How about Alec Pierce?
He's a version of Kyle Williams and Keyshawn Boutte. He's not a wide receiver one that I'm fearing. If I'm the Colts, would I give him $80 million for 3 years? Absolutely, I would, because he is that valuable to me. The Patriots, they have two wide receivers that are very similar play style to Alec Pierce.
Interesting that Alec Pierce was 4th in targets for the Colts.
Yeah.
But how did that happen?
It's bombs away when you throw it to Alec Pierce. That's all it is. It's bombs away. That was Anthony Richardson's whole thing. Alec Pierce is out there somewhere. Let me go find him.
If Alec Pierce is interested in listening to other offers, I would rather have him than A.J. Brown.
Would you pay him $20 million a year? Because think about it, that's only six less than what you're going to pay Stephon Diggs. Would you say that's the equal?
How much?
Similar value?
A.J. Brown has a very expensive contract.
He's making 32, I think.
Okay, so you bring him in, you're going to have to pay that contract. It's good through 2029.
But think about it. You're getting a better player than Stephon Diggs at $6 million more. Again, Alec Pierce, if we do the 80 for 3, I mean, is that similar value to Stephon Diggs? A.J. Brown, you're paying $6 million more.
You think Alec Pierce is better than Stephon Diggs?
No.
Okay. All right.
Well, look, value-wise, maybe. He's comparable.
Right.
Performance-wise, no, Stephon Diggs is better. Because Alec Pierce is he's better than a gadget player, but that's kind of his role. Deep shot guy. He's going to be the guy you're going to run a go route to. You're going to send the bombs away. And that's why value-wise he would be better than Stephon Diggs. Diggs is going to be 33?
So A.J. Brown is your guy.
I would definitely trade for A.J. Brown. 100% I would.
We'll see what
happens. Because you have
happens.
your defense in place.
You have to give up a lot.
The offense needs a lot of work.
What are they going to give up to get him?
You have to give up a first-round pick. I would trade the 31st pick for A.J. Brown.
You don't 100%. Think it will cost more than that?
You might, but that could be 3 years down the line. I would trade a first and a fourth for A.J. Brown. I think that would move the Eagles. I don't think they're... Because think about it. The Raiders said, we need so much for Max Crosby. I think the Raiders are going to, they're going to let Max Crosby go for a little bit more than like 2 first-round picks and a player. I think it could be 2 first-round picks. It could be a pick and a player. I don't think they're going to get what they're asking for.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. All right, this is going to be a good topic here. Let's get into it. It looks like the Cardinals, and we had this discussion, they can't find a trade partner, so Kyler Murray will be cut. That means the Cardinals are going to owe him $36.5 million, regardless of if he plays football this year or not, which is going to be interesting. I don't know if you saw that news online. Okay, well, that's going to be fun because that's part of my take. So, yeah, the Cardinals are going to owe him a bunch of guaranteed money, and it looks like Kyler Murray is going to find a home elsewhere. The question is, what team would that be? Obviously, it looks like the Jets are going to be interested, of course. But I am curious, though. We didn't ask this question, so I want to ask it now. Kyler Murray on the quarterback market, along with Tua, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, and Aaron Rodgers, just to name a few. How big of a market does Kyler Murray have?
I think he has a pretty big market, and for the following reasons. The Colts are getting off him after 7 years. He's still only 28 years old. Releasing him was his preference. He wanted it because he can dictate where he goes instead of a trade that is beyond his control. Wherever he goes, the Cardinals have to guarantee him $36.8 million. And they avoided paying him another $19.5 million for 2027 by releasing him before the fifth day of the new league year. 2019, he was the Heisman Trophy winner from Oklahoma. He was the number one pick in the draft that year. He played for Kingsbury, who tried to recruit him out of high school to Texas A&M. And they had a good relationship, but it went sour. And wound up in quite a messy situation. He led the Cardinals to the playoffs once, but they were blown out by the Rams in that game, and he played terrible in that. He made a bunch of huge mistakes, fumbled the ball right on the goal line. The Rams grabbed it, got a touchdown out of it. His 2022 contract included a 4-hour per week requirement to watch film, which led to questions about his commitment. That was the kind of the beginning of the end when they got that contract, actually, and he spiraled down from there. He berated Kingsbury on the sideline, and right after that, he had an ACL injury. In the 3 seasons since, he's never really got into a good rhythm under Jonathan Gannon, who admittedly is a defensive coach, and he's no longer there. Where will Murray go? Well, when he's healthy, in 2024, he had a 68.8% completion percentage, 3,851 yards, 21 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He was the rookie of the year when he came out of Oklahoma. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He has 87 career starts. He's only 28 years old, and the cost of acquiring him is next to nothing, only the veteran minimum. So I think he has opportunities with the Vikings, the Jets, the Steelers, the Dolphins, and the Falcons. And the Vikings GM Brzezinski says that they're exploring all opportunities following J.J. McCarthy's struggles in 2025. They'll be interested because he has played reasonably well when healthy, Kyler Murray, and he will cost basically nothing. As I say, he can throw to an elite wide receiver core and will benefit from an offensive-minded head coach in O'Connell. Are the Vikings really ready to send J.J. McCarthy to the bench after only 10 starts? Does Murray worry that he might wind up as a backup in Minnesota if McCarthy really comes around and plays great? O'Connell entering his 5th season without a playoff win, so bringing Murray in has to be on his mind and a consideration. He rehabbed Darnold, and look at where Darnold went to the Super Bowl and won it this year. Could do the same. Maybe could do the same for Murray. A 1-year deal, and Murray's injury history keeps the door open for McCarthy for the future. So bring Murray in and, tell J.J. McCarthy, you're not totally done here. We'll have to see what happens. Then the Jets, right? The Jets have not had a successful quarterback since Mark Sanchez. Murray could be the bridge to the future without costing assets or cap space. Given the alternatives, he's likely the best option in the current market, I think. Jets desperately need a competent quarterback play. Allows the Jets to spend their cash and their draft picks on supporting players. They have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall on offense. So their offense has a couple of good players. With Murray in there, that would give them even more flexibility. There's no competition for the starting job. I think that will be very, very enticing for Murray. The Dolphins, they're going to owe Tua $99.2 million in dead money. So Murray is a good choice at at really no cost. They have Waddle and a chain. Miami is a great destination, right? People like to play in Miami. Likely to go with Ewers, though, I think, in tank this year for rebuilding, or Willis, because they like him, they know him, if they can find the money. So I'm not sure the Dolphins choice. The Steelers, they're waiting for Rodgers' decision, akin to the Russell Wilson deal for the veteran minimum. They have experience in doing that deal, that sort of deal. So, and the DK Metcalf is there. They want to win now too. They're a win now team. If he plays well, he can be the future at only 28 years old. So that's a possibility. Sorry, I'll be done here in a second. The Falcons, they got new leadership. They aren't sold on Penix totally, who is coming off another knee injury. He had 3 knee injuries in college. They're parting ways with Cousins. Fancy's offense fits Murray's skill set. Robinson, London, and Pitts, that's pretty good players on offense to play with Murray. Benefits Atlanta, who doesn't have a ton of cap space. Murray may not want the competition with Penix, I think. I think he goes to the Jets. There's no competition for the starting job. There's a low bar given the lack of the Jets' talent, and it's a big market. He'll be in the New York market. He'd probably like that. So that's what I think is going to happen.
He could barely handle the Arizona market. He was getting ripped on for that homework clause in his contract. Do you think he could handle New York?
That homework clause in his contract was something they never should have done. That's an insult to somebody. I mean, they could have talked to him about that.
I don't disagree.
They
with
don't
that.
need to put that out there in the public for people to see. I'm sure that was the beginning of the end for Kyler Murray with the Cardinals, and I blame him for being upset about it.
Well, I'd blame Kyler Murray for that having to be in my contract. Regardless of if it get leaks or if it got leaked or not, the fact that the Cardinals had to put that in the contract, that's a character issue.
You have to do that.
Of course you do. If your quarterback's not watching film and he's playing poorly and he's playing Call of Duty,
you go talk to him about it.
He's signed with FaZe Clan.
You go talk to him about it and tell him we're going to give you a contract. These are the things you got to do, okay? And this part of the deal, okay? You don't have to put it out there in the contract.
It might have been leaked. I got to go back. It might have been leaked.
And have the whole world find out about it. That's embarrassing.
But rightfully so. If that has to be contractually bound, they have to watch a certain amount of film per week.
There's a lot to do with the spiral downward in the Cardinals.
Big time. Here's my question, though, and I thought it was interesting. Because now everyone's talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Kyler Murray, Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer. Is that title exactly accurate? Can we just tweak it a little bit? Because I don't think that's as accurate as what people are saying. Is he really the quarterback whisperer? Did he fix Kirk Cousins? Not really. Kirk Cousins was good regardless. Okay, what about Sam Darnold? Well, Sam Darnold came in, played well, but now he went over to Seattle, and unlike Jimmy G, where he went from San Francisco going to NFC Championship games and Super Bowls, he wasn't able to maintain that level of performance, and instead, with the Seahawks, increased it and brought it to a whole nother level. Are we sure that's because of Kevin O'Connell? Or just because Sam Darnold grew as a quarterback and took it to an entirely different level, a better level, with Clint Kubiak? Is Clint Kubiak a quarterback whisperer? I don't know. He tried to move off. He moved off of Geno Smith now twice. The second time being today. So I don't know if the quarterback whisperer title is the best thing for Kevin O'Connell. Because think about it. J.J. McCarthy. Did he look that great this year? No, he didn't. He actually looked really bad when he first started playing. What about Carson Wentz? Is he the next Sam Darnold? Probably not. Max Brosmer. First game, he threw 4 interceptions. And now we're having Kyler Murray, who refuses to run the football, which is one of his biggest assets. Is he an upgrade over J.J. McCarthy? Yes. But is he going to be another Pro Bowl quarterback in 2026? No. I don't see another 14-win season with Kyler Murray leading in the Vikings purple. I can't see that. I think he's probably the best option for them, but to call Kyler Murray the next reclamation project that Kevin O'Connell's going to revive into all of a sudden this new quarterback who's going to take over the NFL or at least be respectable. Here's the situation. If the Vikings sign Russell Wilson and Russell Wilson was competent, then I would agree. Because Russ was god-awful the first 3 weeks. He was good for 1 week. But weeks 1 and 3 were really, really bad with New York last year. So the Vikings signed him to compete with J.J. McCarthy, and all of a sudden Russ looks good again? Okay, fair enough. But for Kyler Murray, for him not to be able to play that well, and I will also point out, when he was healthy this season, he didn't play well. The offense did not move. And then with Jacoby Brissett, the offense looked much better. Because we saw Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray, they were not on the same page at all. Whether that's Marvin Harrison's fault, whether that's Kyler's fault, I'll also add that Kyler Murray never used Trey McBride, at least to the highest capacity possible, because once Jacoby Brissett was out there, I should know, I had him on my fantasy team, Trey McBride became like the top tight end in the NFL.
When Jacoby Brissett wound up getting out there, the running game the injuries had decimated.
Which
and
in fact,
all they did was throw the ball. All they did was throw the ball. That's another reason why McBride got a lot of catches. When Murray was in there, they were trying to have a balanced offense. So I'm not so sure I agree with all.
Well,
of what
also
you
think
said
about
there.
this.
Plus, Brissett won one game. He started what? He started after week 4.
But the offense wasn't the issue.
And they won one game.
The offense wasn't the issue. Because Brissett...
I don't know. I don't think the offense was wasn't too good. The defense did fall apart. I agree with that. But the offense is nothing special.
The offense was number 7
I've
in
said
passing.
This in past shows. I don't think Marvin Harrison is the real deal.
Well, that's fine.
And if Kyler Murray got in there with the Vikings receiver core, that could be special.
I completely disagree.
Could be special,
I completely disagree, because I think the Vikings and the Cardinals are very similar.
I don't think it's going to happen, because he's not going to want to go where he's got to pick where he can pick where he wants to go. He
does not have that pleasure.
I think he does, and because he doesn't cost anything. He doesn't cost anything, and he has a resume, 87 starts. He has 87 starts.
Kirk Cousins has more.
He has a Rookie of the Year. He has 2 Pro Bowls. He has a playoff appearance. The Jets. He's going to the Jets.
The Jets is where quarterbacks go to die.
That's my prediction, and that will happen here pretty soon.
Sure. But think about this, though. You make a good point. Yes, the running game was decimated. James Conner hurt. Running backs hurt left and right. Trey Benson hurt. And yet the offense remained relatively stable with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Quarterback hurt. Jacoby Brissett was out there. Jonathan Gannon soft-benched Kyler Murray. Because once Kyler Murray got hurt, we'll see him in 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks came around, we'll put him on IR. His season's done. He was benched for Jacoby Brissett.
The season was over for them at that point anyway.
Right, but you could throw him out there. But no, here's what I'll add. Think about this, though.
No, they were their minds, they were going to release him.
I'm sure.
They didn't want him to get out there and have, some good games and a losing cause, and then have to release him and have people upset about it. In this case, people forgot totally about how good he was because he didn't play since week 4. Mm-hmm. So that was in their mind all along that they were going to release him, and that's why it was a soft benching.
Well, think about this, because, again, I'll point this out. The offense looked much better with Jacoby Brissett out there. He operated much more effectively. But I'll also add this. You can complain about the offense, and where the injuries come into play is, yes, the running game was decimated. They were 31st in the league. Is Kyler Murray and his legs going to increase that to average? No. Okay, what about this? The last half of the season, weeks 9 to 18, the defense gave up 40 points, 4-0, 4 times. That has nothing to do with the offense, really. That is god-awful. 40 points you give up 4 times.
I think that...
30 points 2 more times.
I think that Kyler Murray deserves a second chance here. He only played for the Cardinals. They are a mess. Most of the time he was there. He did get him to the playoffs once. And he had several good seasons with him. He was a Pro Bowler twice. He was Rookie of the Year. I think that in a different system, the guy could be great. He could be great. You wait and see. I think that it's either the Vikings or the Jets, and I'm pretty sure it's the Jets. And if I were Kyler Murray, that's where I'd want to go. The bar is set so low.
No,
they
it's
don't
not.
have the bar is set low. I mean, he only has one guy to throw to. Breece Hall is a running back again, but the offensive line is a mess. They have the defense is what was good last year before they fired Salah 2 years ago. It was good. It's gone downhill dramatically under Aaron Glenn. And, I think that he's only 28 years old. I think that the people calling him a bridge quarterback, that probably pisses him off.
But he is, though.
But because he's only 28 years old, he's thinking, I can be the future. I could be the future.
Future of
and
what?
He should have for a team.
To go get another quarterback. Exactly. A bridge quarterback.
No, I don't think he necessarily has to be a bridge quarterback. He could be the deal. He could be the deal for a team. That
if you're the Colts and you have Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, who would you take?
For the Colts?
For the Colts. Because you're making the argument that Kyler Murray is a franchise quarterback.
He has the potential to be a franchise quarterback. I think he does.
Yes, he was when he came out of college as the #1 pick in the 2019
and he
NFL
played
draft.
well. He played well for the first couple of years. And then he had his ACL injury. Then they did that crazy thing with his contract.
Did that early.
Then they, a lot of things went the wrong way for him. I think with another team, he's going to get a chance to start. And at 28 years old, he could still be a quarterback that plays well late into his 30s.
Wow. Well, he would need to develop a better passing game if that's the case.
Well, he have some people to throw to.
He did.
Marvin Harrison, to me, is not the real deal.
What about Michael Wilson? Their wide receiver, too.
Those guys,
who had 1,000 yards with Jacoby Brissett throwing him the ball.
But that's because they gave up totally on the run.
Trey McBride, the #1 tight end in the NFL.
They gave up totally on the run after that. And Murray was only in there for 4 weeks.
Because he got hurt. And in those 5 weeks,
they might
he
have
was
changed
terrible.
the offense around to be just heave it every play. When Murray was in there, and he might have had those numbers. He can pass the ball. He had some good seasons when he had a decent receiver in Hopkins.
Oh, my. Okay.
Right?
First of all, Marvin Harrison is a fine receiver. Michael Wilson turned out to be a good receiver. Trey McBride is the #1 tight end in the NFL. Mm-hmm. George Kittle was banged up last year, but Trey McBride absolutely deserves that #1 spot this year.
You don't like Kyler Murray, that's obvious.
I'm not saying I don't like Kyler Murray. I'm real with Kyler Murray. He's played terrible.
Don't you think he's going to get a chance? Where do you think he's going?
A chance on a bad team is almost as good as not a chance at all to start anywhere. And this is how bad it's gotten. And this is what you haven't seen on the news. The general manager of the Oakland Athletics said they're opening to bringing him back. That's how bad it is. The general manager of a baseball team thought, we'll bring back Kyler Murray. I would go play baseball over play football. 1,000%. Because you're going to make $36 million whether you play in the NFL or not. Pull a Michael Jordan. Go play for the Oakland Athletics. They're not even the Oakland Athletics anymore. They're just the Athletics. I'd go play baseball. 100%. Because if you're going to the Jets...
That isn't what he's going to do.
If you're going to the Jets, look what just happened to Justin Fields. He's a slightly better Justin Fields. Similar style. Very similar style. He's a better Justin Fields. The Jets is where quarterbacks go to die. Miami, you have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL. They want their franchise quarterback. It ain't going to be Kyler.
Okay, so I didn't think he would go to the Dolphins anyway.
The issue with the Vikings is, if you truly believe, like you do you think Kyler... I assume it'll be a 1-year vet minimum. Is that what you're saying?
That's the deal they'll give him. They'll give him a 1-year deal.
Okay. So would you think for Kevin O'Connell that if they do pick, instead of Kirk Cousins, who is the obvious answer, if they go with Kyler, do you see the Vikings admitting that they were wrong in J.J. McCarthy and picking him in the top 11 pick a couple of years ago and going forward with Kyler Murray?
They don't want to do that. They don't want to admit that they made a mistake.
So why would they go create that tension? They would go get Kirk Cousins, say this is a veteran piece, McCarthy, learn from him, and then you'll have your shot in 2027.
So let me ask you this. You think Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray?
At this current moment, yes, I do.
I don't.
I think Jacoby Brissett is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray.
I don't think so. I don't think Jacoby Brissett does not have the mobility that Kyler Murray has.
But he doesn't use it.
And that doesn't mean he won't.
Daniel Jones has more mobility than Kirk Cousins. Are we saying that Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins?
That doesn't mean he won't. With a new team, they could have a whole different offensive scheme.
He said he doesn't like to get hit. That Rams game rattled him because he got absolutely killed there, and it completely rattled him. And now he has ACL injuries. He gets hurt every couple of years. The last healthy season was his sophomore season. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was 2024. He played 17 games. You know what he went? 8-9. Last time he had a winning record.
He had good stats.
Last time he had a winning record, I was in high school.
He had very good. He had very good stats in that.
Touchdown interception ratio is not great. Completion percentage is
almost
fine.
4,000 yards passing. 21 touchdowns.
Passer rating's fine. Passer rating's good. But again, like Kyler Murray for me he's not going to go out and win a division. Put him in any division. Put him in the NFC North. If he goes to the Vikings, is he winning the North? No.
So again, I come back.
No.
What do you think is going to happen to him? Is he going to be playing baseball next year?
If I'm Kyler, I would go play baseball. 100%.
I don't think he's going to do that.
Until another job opens up.
But
the Jets' job is bad.
He's not going to do that.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so
Jets,
where is he going to land?
Jets, bad job.
Where is he going to land?
Dolphins, worst job.
Where's he going to land then? He's going to go somewhere. Where is he going to go?
I think, because again, apparently, according to what Rodgers said on the Pat McAfee show, the Steelers haven't given him an offer. So he doesn't know if he's playing for the Steelers next year or not. I think that if a team legitimately wants to go for him, and Kyler wants to play in the NFL next year, if he wants to play that badly, he's going to go to a bad team. If he wants to succeed and be what you're thinking, a franchise guy, you better hope and pray the Vikings want him or the Steelers want him. Or hell, the Falcons want him. If the Jets and the Dolphins are the ones that are giving you the big deal, put on the batting gloves. Go to the batting cages. Start swinging.
Maybe the Falcons will. If I were Kyler Murray, I'd be happy to go to
the
the
only
Falcons.
issue with the Falcons is Kevin Stefanski would have another bad quarterback situation that he needs to fix. I think the Vikings should go Kirk Cousins because, again, you have to admit defeat that J.J. McCarthy was a bust. That's what you have to admit.
Not so much with Kirk Cousins because he's old.
Right?
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. If you go with Kyler, you have to admit J.J. McCarthy's a bust. If you go with Kirk, sit and learn. That's fine. If the Jets, that's where quarterbacks go to die. Sure, have him. He'll be a little bit better than Justin Fields.
But the Jets are going to want him.
Sure.
The
Go
Jets are
spend
going
the
to want
money.
him.
Yeah, sure.
They don't even have to spend the money. Maybe they give him a little more than the veteran minimum. I don't know. Maybe they could do that.
People were excited with. Okay, you can go out and get Kyler Murray. I don't expect you to do well.
You wait and see. I predict he goes to the Jets.
This is what doesn't make sense to me. You're saying Kyler Murray had nobody to throw it to on the Cardinals. Who's on the Jets? Mason Taylor, Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
Oh, Garrett Wilson, really?
Mitchell.
Oh. No. He just scored his first touchdown in like 3 years.
He could be a pretty good player, Mitchell. They were playing him at the Colts until he had that one bad game and he ran his mouth. And that was the end of him. But maybe he learned from that. They still have him.
He needs to be a
draft. Maybe they'll draft him. If they bring in Kyler Murray, then they can go draft. They don't have to spend anything. It doesn't hurt their cap space.
But if you're saying, if Kyler is who you're saying he is,
he's the best option for them. Who else are the Jets going to get?
I genuinely go get a bad quarterback.
Go get a bad quarterback.
Start Brady Cook. I don't care. Keep Justin Fields. Keep Justin Fields. I'm shocked. We're hearing Kyler get released, Kirk Cousins get released. I hear nothing about Justin Fields getting released. I'm stunned. I'm genuinely stunned. Do they want to keep him?
Well, maybe it's a backup.
I would keep Justin Fields and say, you know what? Go have your 3 yards per play.
So you would prefer the Jets tank again?
Absolutely, because then you get Dante Moore.
They've been tanking for the last 20 years.
And here's the thing: sometimes they don't even want to tank; they want to win. They tried to win without Rodgers. They went 7-10, or no, they went 5-12 with Rodgers. I mean, think about it. Next year, you're gonna have potentially Arch Manning and definitely Dante Moore and Chambliss, the quarterback from Ole Miss.
Yeah,
go out and get one of those quarterbacks. I think when it comes to the Jets, cool, you have Kyler Murray. Now, here's something that I would agree with you. If it is that 1 year vet minimum, fair enough. Get off him after a year. That I don't really care about. If any team wants to sign him for longer than 1 year, that's where I think they're getting absolutely robbed.
Well, they won't do that. I don't think they have to do that. They don't have to do that. I think Kyler Murray, if he has any confidence in himself, he'd be okay with a 1 year deal. He's going to be making $36.8 million plus the veteran minimum. He'll have a lot of money, and he'll have 1 year to prove himself, and that should be fine.
If the Jets make you an offer, if the Dolphins make you an offer, put on the batting gloves and go over to the Athletics. I'm pretty sure he was a first-round pick in baseball, too.
He's not going to be playing in the major leagues next year. He'd be in the
Michael
minors.
Jordan didn't.
He didn't do it his first year. He didn't play in the majors.
Right. He played for Double-A.
Yeah. So
Kyler Murray, go put on the batting gloves. Go to the batting cage.
You want to go play Double-A ball as opposed to being a starting quarterback in the NFL? I doubt it.
Depends on what team. He may not be a starter.
Doubt it.
Depends
Come
on
on.
the team.
He's going to be a starter. He's going to pick the Jets. There's no competition there. He'll go right in.
The only thing Kyler has going for low bar.
It's a big
he's a
market.
first overall pick, and he's a low bar.
No, it's a low bar to if you do anything good, you win 5-6 games. They're going to be very happy.
Good. Okay, so fine. If he wins 5 or 6 games, that just adds another year to the last time he had a winning record. That would be 5 years that he hasn't had a winning record.
Well, with the Jets, it's going to be hard to have a winning record next year.
Here's the Aaron Rodgers was better on the Steelers and better on the Packers than he was on the Jets. Brett Favre better on the Vikings than he was on the Jets. That was after he went to the Jets. Yeah. What makes you so sure that Kyler Murray is going to be good at all?
I didn't say he'd be great. I just said
you're making him seem like a franchise quarterback.
That he has an opportunity to do something, and this is his opportunity, and I'm sure he's excited about it. And I think that he'll give it his all. And
Anthony Richardson's out.
He has the talent. He has the talent.
Oh, Lord. All right, we're going to take a very quick break, 30-second break, but coming up, we got to talk about this. It looks like David Montgomery is on the move over to Houston as well. Houston Texans released Joe Mixon after that weird injury that nobody could really figure out. We'll talk about the David Montgomery trade as well as Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. They have their wide receiver, DJ Moore, Bears to Bills. We'll talk about that right after this quick break.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So it looks like the Buffalo Bills have a brand new wide receiver one in Josh Allen after Stephon Diggs was the last time they had a legitimate big impact wide receiver, and dealing with Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel and Keon Coleman, all of them last year. Looks like they're going out and getting DJ Moore. He is on the move, going from Chicago over to Buffalo for a second-round pick. Chicago, playoffs, deep playoff run with Caleb Williams. DJ Moore had a pretty good season last year, with everything being told, with the amount of talent that they had spreading the ball around, and Caleb Williams struggling to complete passes. But I'm curious, though, because when I talk to some people, a lot of mixed signals. A lot of they don't like this trade. So I want to know what your opinion is. Do you like or dislike this trade for the Buffalo Bills?
I like it. I think it's a good trade. I think it's. I'm sure DJ Moore's happy about it, right? He was only targeted 85 times last year with the Chicago. When he was targeted, he played great. He only had 50 catches for 682 yards, which were his career lows. He had two years left on $110 million expansion, which is the largest contract the Bears had ever given in their franchise history. They have young talent with Burden and Dunze and Loveland, and they needed to make room. So I think that's why DJ Moore is on his way to Buffalo. The move is guaranteed to make more. He's guaranteed to make at least $62.5 million through 2028. He's only risking $8 million of the contract he has right now. So Buffalo's also sending a second-round pick to the Bears and getting back a fifth-round pick from the Bears. Moore, 29 years old, still in his prime, and he reunites with Joe Brady, who was the offensive coordinator in Carolina in 2020 and most of 2021. Where Moore had two of his best seasons, averaging 18.1 yards a catch and 1,100 yards in each of those seasons. So the Bills have Shakir, Coleman, Palmer, and Samuel. Samuel, who played with Moore in Carolina. Moore had a career year in his first year in Chicago with 1,364 yards and 8 TDs. His role changed in 2025 and limited his production. The Bills threw to wide receivers only 55% of the time in 2025. That's 22nd in the league. That's down from 72% in 2020, which was first in the league. And it's been dropping every year. So it's something they had to address. I think Moore is durable. He played all 17 games in 2025. He's really been hurt. He made some of the greatest catches of the season, including that 46-yard walk-off touchdown against Green Bay in overtime in the game on December 20th. I think he's undervalued. I'm not saying undervalued, but underrated. And a great pickup for the Bills. The connection to Brady is good, and it's a step up for him playing with Josh Allen. So I like it.
This is what's interesting about this, and I'll say this to start. It's about time, I guess, because I think with Stephon Diggs, it was a lot of personality conflict between Diggs and Allen. I can't see that with DJ Moore and Josh Allen. So I do think that is a big plus.
DJ Moore is a gentleman.
Yeah.
I mean, his production was limited by the scheme, and he didn't make any noise about it. In fact, when he had those big catches and they brought him on the shows afterwards, he did nothing but good things to say about Caleb Williams, about the organization. He was a supportive teammate. The guy is, I think he's a very good pickup for the Bills.
No, I would agree, but there is one big key issue, and this kind of fits into kind of what you said. They need to restructure DJ Moore's deal. They have to, because they were over the cap already, and today they released a bunch of players, including one that you added, Curtis Samuel. They let him go because you have to, because you're over the cap already, and now you trade for an expensive wide receiver. You need to make room for him. This one, so for the Buffalo side, they get their guy, and it's a question of what's the production that DJ Moore will have. Because a lot of people that I spoke to think DJ Moore is a really, really great, like if he was on the Rams, wide receiver 3. He is right now a very good wide receiver 2 and not really a wide receiver 1. Now, personally, me, I disagree with that. I think DJ Moore is going to be a very, very, very vital piece of the Bills' offense. Because what was the number one thing that the Bills' offense needed? Josh Allen was always great. He was mobile. He did his Superman stuff. James Cook, the best runner in the league this year. They finally had those two pieces clicking. Josh Allen, James Cook, offensive line wasn't great. Wide receiver core was not good at all. Khalil Shakir, if he's your number one wide receiver, you're not going to go that far. You're going to need Josh Allen Superman, which I said eventually he'll become Clark Kent. And I think with DJ Moore, you do have that Stephon Diggs piece, because like you mentioned, with Joe Brady, Moore had back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons in Carolina. Now with Josh Allen, can that be back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons in Buffalo? Maybe. So I think that it's a perfectly fine piece. You're going to need to restructure the deal anyway. I do think he could be a long-term piece for Buffalo, 3-4 years down the line. That's fine. I still think, though, Buffalo would need another wide receiver piece. I think Shakir's a good wide receiver 3. Keon Coleman needs to figure out whatever he needs to figure out to be a decent wide receiver. Brandon Beane ripped on him in the press conference, and the owner ripped on him in the press conference, so they're going to need to figure that situation out if they really think he's all that after being a second-round pick just a couple of years ago. But when it comes to Chicago, they saved $16.5 million. Sure. But I feel like his role in Chicago maybe is a little misunderstood. Because it feels like they just said, we have a really good wide receiver. We'll get rid of him at any time that we want. When he becomes an inconvenience, we'll let him go. That's kind of what happened. But you point out something really, really interesting. DJ Moore had some of the greatest and most clutch catches of recent history. Down late. Bears got to come back, and all of a sudden, an onside kick. Caleb Williams steps back, gets pressured, launches a bomb against the Packers. In overtime, one of the greatest catches in that moment, clutches, throws that I've seen. My God. Was that Luther Burden? Was that Rome Odunze? Hell, Rome Odunze's dad was calling out the Bears organization for not targeting him more. He's now your wide receiver 1. Are we sure that the Bears are going to have the same production offensively, at least in the passing game, that what we had with DJ Moore? I don't exactly think so. That requires Ben Johnson. First of all, it requires Caleb Williams to complete more passes than he did. He had a little over a 50% completion percentage. That's unacceptable. But I think that if the Bears are going to go back to where they were, you're going to need to trust Colson Loveland to keep continuing to progress, which I think could absolutely happen. He had a very, very good season last year. You're going to have to trust Rome Odunze to be wide receiver 1. And you're also going to need just Luther Burden to be a very solid wide receiver too. Will Ben Johnson do that without having what I still think is a bona fide star in DJ Moore no longer there? And of course, you have Kyle Monangai, you have DeAndre Swift running back. Those two could work it out absolutely. I think that to treat DJ Moore kind of is just like a luxury piece, as like, oh, we have a really good wide receiver, and then just kind of be like, we'll let him go when it comes inconvenient. When we need cash space, he has $16.5 million that we could just save.
I think that letting Moore go to the Bills for the Bears is a mistake.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what that second-round pick is going to turn into. I think that's going to be a key, because if the Bears hit on a great second-round pick, then maybe the value either equals out on both sides or the Bears win.
I think they have these 3 young receivers that they need to know that they need to get more targets for, and that's what they're thinking about. Well, will those guys would Odunze have made that catch that
I don't think
Moore
so.
made? That was a fantastic catch. It was a contested catch. The coverage was great.
Yeah.
And he managed to make that catch, and he hit the ground very hard.
Oh, yeah.
And he hung on to the ball. Like, the guy is a professional. He really is. I think he's underrated. And I think with Josh Allen throwing him the ball, it's going to be I think that's a good move. I think Joe Brady knows more, knows how to get the best out of him. I think that was a very good move by the Bills.
I think that when it comes to the Bills, though, they're going to be in cap hell. That's going to be interesting to watch. So they're going to be in what we've always thought they would be in, Super Bowl or bust, kind of. They're going to have to figure out a way to win. Now, unfortunately, Mahomes will be back. I think the Chiefs are going to be very aggressive. They traded Trent McDuffie away for a first-round pick over to the Rams.
Yeah.
They're letting go probably their best defensive back right now for a first-round pick. I think they're going to... Now, here's something. I'm sure, at some point we'll maybe have a discussion about this. I think that the Chiefs could go 2 ways. I think they could keep both picks, or they'll trade both picks for maybe a top 5 pick in the draft. I think that'll be interesting to watch, because I do think that Jeremiah Love, the running back, is a very, very nice piece that the Chiefs would love to have. Now, they could go in free agency and get a Rico Dowdle, but I don't know if Rico Dowdle's going to be the answer. Isaiah Pacheco's not great. Maybe with Eric Bieniemy, they have a little bit more confidence because Eric Bieniemy's a running back coach. And the Chiefs could run the ball decently with Bieniemy out there. So we'll have to wait and see. But
the Chiefs definitely have to do something about their running game.
Oh, big time. And also offensive line as well.
It's a disaster.
No, it's really bad. But I think that when it comes to Buffalo, they're in a situation where you have to win now. Because you're going to have to keep dealing with cap hell over and over. You're going to basically be like a better version of what the Saints have been in for the last 7 years. Of just, you're at $70 million over the cap. You have to figure it out, release guys, restructure contracts constantly. And I think that's what the Bills are going to have to do for the next 2-3 years. Is you have DJ Moore, you have to restructure his deal, which means a bigger cap hit next year. You have to restructure a bunch of deals next year for that year and the following year. So you're going to need to figure out a way to figure out all these contract situations. When it comes to the Bears, you have a little bit more flexibility with your roster. But are you sure you're going to go back to where you just were?
No.
I think a lot of it was black magic and luck.
They're going to miss DJ Moore.
I agree with
that.
that.
Sure.
I absolutely agree with that. Because how many teams would fear Rome Odunze and Luther Bird in those spots? I don't think many. You would fear DJ Moore.
I don't think they would make those catches. I don't think they would make that catch, that particular catch. I don't think those guys would have made.
I agree. No, absolutely. Let's get into our final topic of today's show, which is David Montgomery. Sonic and Knuckles, the relationship has broken up with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery because Montgomery is on the move over to the Houston Texans, who today announced that they are releasing Joe Mixon. Now, obviously, in the news before this trade, it was big K9, Kenneth Walker over to Houston, maybe. It looks like those conversations may continue potentially, or it could die after getting the bull back of David Montgomery in H-Town. So my question to you is, this is an interesting one and kind of a similar thing that we just talked about with Buffalo and Chicago. The question that I'm posing to you is, do you think that trading for Montgomery is a bigger gain for the Texans, or trading away Montgomery is a bigger loss for the Detroit Lions?
I think it's a bigger gain for the Texans, and I say that because Jahmyr Gibbs really had a great season last year. He really came into his own. I think when Dan Campbell took over the offense, he recognized that. He said that Gibbs is a special player. He gave him most of the touches, and for Montgomery, his his stats fell way off there. And so I think it was a foregone conclusion after Dan Campbell took over the offense that Montgomery was going to be second fiddle. And you don't need somebody with his caliber playing behind Gibbs, since Gibbs is going to be out there on most of the plays. So he's traded to the Texans for Juice Scruggs, an offensive lineman, and 2 draft picks, a 4th in 26 and a 7th in 2027. He had 2,506 yards and 33 touchdowns in 3 seasons with the Lions. He played 4 seasons for the Bears before that, so he's not that young. He's 29 years old. He's got quite a bit of mileage on him. He was a 3rd-round pick in 2019. Houston needed to bolster their running game. I mean, they had Marks and Chubb. Chubb is a free agent. They have Mixon, as you said. They let him go. He had some mysterious injury. They were 22nd in rushing in 2025 with only 108 yards per game. Marks had 703 yards. Now Montgomery's going to be the number 1 back. And they released Mixon. Montgomery's unhappy with his reduced role in Detroit. He had the fewest rushes, 158, and touches, 182 in a season in his whole career, despite playing all 17 games last year. It had everything to do with, he said that everything I do next carries a piece of Detroit with me. The work ethic, the edge, the heart, which was a nice thing to say. Gibbs is disappointed that Montgomery was traded. But Montgomery went from 14.4 rushes and 16.3 touches in his first 2 seasons in Detroit to only 9.3 and 10.7 this past year. Less than 10 carries a game in Detroit's final 8 games of 2025. 29 years old, I mentioned he's set to make $5.5 million this year, which is a deal, I think. And it was the first of a 2-year, $18.25 million extension. So I think it's a good trade for Houston, and actually I don't think it's so bad for Detroit either. But they got draft picks. They managed to draft Gibbs. Look how good he's been. So they'll pick up somebody back up Gibbs, and Gibbs is he's going to be their number 1 back. It's not going to be by committee, and that's the way it's going to go.
I feel like this actually damages Detroit, and especially their identity. Their identity was Sonic and Knuckles. 1-2 punch combo. That was my biggest thing. The Lions have the best 1-2 punch combo in the NFL. And look what other teams are doing. Think about before. The Green Bay Packers had Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. A decent 1-2 punch combo. The Giants are going with Cam Scatterbo and Tyrone Tracy. Now, personally, I would go out and get a running back. Nobody likes that idea, but I would go out and get another running back. Because you have Cam Scatterbo, who's probably going to have CTE by 27 with how he runs. Head first, barreling into guys. Fun to watch. Dangerous for a person. Dangerous for a human being.
A tough injury, too.
And think about it. The Eagles, could they have benefited from a better 1-2 punch combo with Saquon maybe being a little bit lackluster? Could they have helped with a better running back, too? I think maybe. The Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson. I think this 1-2 punch combo is going to be something that NFL team's going to be looking at. And
Detroit can go find a number 2.
Better than David Montgomery? That fits Detroit better than
they can pick the 1st-round pick.
You're not going to
draft a wide receiver. A running back.
You just did that with Jahmyr Gibbs a couple years ago.
Yeah, look how good it turned out.
You're not going to use your 1st-round pick, especially when you have a defense that can't stay healthy. You lost an offensive tackle. You got to probably find another wide receiver or offensive lineman. That's
one of the reasons they gave up on Montgomery. Because they needed an offensive lineman. They got a good one in Juice Scruggs. And now they got some extra draft capital, a 4th-round pick. Maybe they draft another offensive lineman.
Here's what I'll say.
Detroit has a fantastic passing game. Let's not forget that.
I was going to talk about that, and I'm going to bring that up right now. It wasn't a better passing game. It was a different passing game. A little bit different. Because John Morton, he got demoted and then ultimately fired by Dan Campbell. Not only did John Morton use David Montgomery more, the passing game was actually more efficient, but they played it safer. The running game was better. The passing game was much more efficient, less explosive. And I have the numbers here to prove it. With John Morton as the OC, passing game-wise, Goff was number 1 in completion percentage, 10th in passing yards, 5th in yards per attempt, tied for 4th in passing touchdowns, had the 7th fewest interceptions. Here's where it's a little bit different. 2nd in passer rating, I might add. But here's where, the PFF grade comes into play a little bit, because he was 26th in passing grade, because they value big-time throws as a key metric. He was 28th out of 38 quarterbacks in big-time throws. He was also last in average depth of target. So it was a lot of dink and dunk offense. Not a lot of big, throw the ball a lot plays. It was very play it relatively safe. Let's just keep the ball moving. Let's keep the offense moving. Dan Campbell. The reason why I've said the number 1 passing offense is because Jared Goff was number 1 in passing yards with Dan Campbell as the play caller. But he was 20th in completion percentage, 13th in yards per attempt compared to 5th with John Morton. He was 3rd in passing touchdowns compared to 4th. He was 21st in interceptions compared to 7th. So 21st fewest, and that's out of 36 qualified quarterbacks. Here's where the PFF grade flips. Could go from 26th to 8th. He goes from 2nd in passer rating to 11th. That's what Dan Campbell, he decreased. He went from being dead last out of 38 to 30th out of 36 in average depth of target, and he went from 28th in big-time throws to only 17th. So the big-time throws went up, the average depth of target went up, the passer rating went down, the passing grade went up. So the passing game was different. It wasn't better. But what was different, and depending on how you think about it, the Lions' running game changed. David Montgomery had nearly 40% of all the rushing attempts and rushing yardage for Detroit with John Morton. David Montgomery only had 30% with Dan Campbell. So he leaned less into the 1-2 punch combo of Montgomery and Gibbs. And sometimes we took a look at the offense the second half of the year, and it's like, okay, well, Jahmyr Gibbs is not having a great game, but the offense can't pick it up. It's because Dan Campbell kept sending Jahmyr Gibbs out there, and he wasn't being as effective. So I think that this 1-2 punch combo that the Lions were known for years, I don't think you're going to have the same Sonic and Knuckles combo. For the Houston Texans, I agree with you. It's a significantly bigger gain. Now, I don't know what it is about the Texans going out and acquiring older running backs. You got Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, David Montgomery.
Nick Chubb was a shadow of himself.
Well, he got hurt. That was the big thing. He got hurt, and he couldn't come back from
the Mixon never even played. Or something.
Well, yeah, no, because he had that weird injury. But what, last year, the year before, it was last year? Or, well, technically, the year before that now. He was pretty good for him. But then he had these ups and downs.
Yeah.
So I think that it is a bigger game because you have a better consistent running attack when it comes to Houston. I do think, though, this is a decent loss for Detroit because it requires you to change your identity.
Well, maybe not necessarily. Well, I think they've decided to change their identity already. They've decided to feature Gibbs more. They've decided to be more aggressive with the passing game, throwing the ball down the field. I think Dan Campbell, when he took over for the rest of the season, didn't they have the most passing yards of any team?
Yes, they were number 1 in passing yards.
Because they were throwing the ball down the field.
But 20th in completion percentage. Jared Goff was 13th in yards per attempt, 21st
that happens when you throw the
interceptions.
long passes. You don't complete as many of them, right?
But it's a less efficient offense. With John Morton, they ran it the 14th most times. With Dan Campbell, they ran it 24th. That's bottom 7th in the league?
Yeah, well. You have Goff. Goff was right up at the top of the league when Campbell took over. So he said, I'm going to leverage that, right? So,
well, based on these numbers, they became more of a one-dimensional offense.
Is he going to call plays again next year? Or are they trying to get an OC?
Well, I'm sure that he's going to call the
I think
plays.
he likes doing that.
I would agree. Again, if you're a pass-heavy offense, that's what you want.
Yeah.
I just want to see a better, more balanced offense. That's what Ben Johnson gave you. Ben Johnson gave you a more balanced offense. John Morton gave you a better balanced offense. It's just that there wasn't the creativity of the explosive play. I think the best play caller for the Lions is the passing plays of Dan Campbell and the balanced offense of John Morton. Now, obviously, Morton's fired.
Yeah.
Morton wanted to run the ball more. Dan Campbell, based on the numbers, wanted to be more one-dimensional offense. Because you can't go from being above average in running attempts to bottom 8th in running attempts. That's you can't. Yeah, that's why you're number 1 in passing yards because you became a more one-dimensional offense. Still though, even with John Morton out there for Jared Goff, he was still 10th in passing yards. He was still a top 10 quarterback in passing. Number 1 in completion percentage, 5th in yards per attempt, 4th in touchdowns compared to 3rd with Dan Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Less interceptions.
It was not
better
Ben
passer
Johnson. Morton was not Ben Johnson.
That's for damn sure. Because there was no creativity. There was less playing it safe, less explosive plays.
Not as successful on 4th down.
I would agree with that as well. 3rd down was also rough.
Even under Dan Campbell, they weren't as successful on 4th down.
Oh,
they actually fell off.
3rd down.
4th down, they did not make it under Dan Campbell.
Well, they missed 7 in a row or something like that, and then he stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Well, also, you realize 3rd down, look at the Thanksgiving game against the Packers. The opportunities they had to come out of that game and win, they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah. Too much gambling by Dan Gamble.
He's going to keep doing it because it's his identity.
Yeah.
I just think that needs to be a smarter gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, San Francisco, you're up by 17. Could have kicked the field goal here. Could have gone for it, at a better time. Instead, you kept going for it. You lost a 17-point lead in 1 half. You could have been to the Super Bowl for the first time in your franchise's history. What are you going to do?
Oh.
I agree with you, though. It is a bigger gain for the Houston Texans, but I do think that the loss of Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs is phenomenal, 100%. I do think we're going to see
Dan Campbell has fallen
not
in
as
love,
good of an offense.
Fallen in love with Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to give him the ball.
Rightfully
He's
so.
going to be the number 1 feature back. They're going to try to draft another running back, or bring somebody in to be the number 2 who will get the kind of carries that Montgomery was getting last year. Not 10 touches a game, maybe, and that's where it's going to be. And they're going to try to win that way.
The best Lions offense was when both of the running backs. Think about this. I'm pretty sure this combo has the most rushing touchdowns as pairs in the NFL, like in a single game.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get that
Didn't
from another
they
running
each
back?
have 1,000 yards 2 seasons in a row?
It might have been 1,000 scrimmage yards.
Okay.
I don't know if it was running yards or scrimmage
it's
yards.
still pretty amazing.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like that offense was the best when both running backs had like 10 carries a game. And he's like, hey, who's going to be the feature back? Both of you. Go run your heads off. Go. And now it's okay. Well, now it's going to be a little bit more Gibbs, less Montgomery. And then with Dan Campbell, it was really Gibbs and really no Montgomery. 10% drop off from Morton to Dan Campbell. I do think that the loss of Montgomery will definitely rear its ugly head next season for the Lions. Absolutely. Unless they obviously go out and get a very comparable back to Montgomery. But if they just go with like a Kenneth Gainwell type of a running back, Will Shipley type running back, I think that's actually
I think they'll try hard to get another good running back. You wait and see.
Again,
I think they can find it in the draft.
Maybe. We'll see. All right, that does wrap it up for today's show. We all thank you so much for watching, as always. We'll be back next week, obviously, but for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We have been your host of the Harvey Hour. Catch us next week, around 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with